The pill bottle rattled in David's hand as he tried to open it. His fingers wouldn't cooperate this morning. Pain shot through his left leg, the one that wasn't really there anymore, and he gritted his teeth against the familiar ghost that lived in his missing flesh. The prosthetic leaned against the bathroom wall, waiting for him to strap it on and pretend to be whole again. "Dad, Owen's awake," Lily called from the hallway. David looked at himself in the cracked mirror. 38 years old, and he looked 60. Gray streaked his brown hair. Dark circles lived permanently under his eyes. 3 scars crossed his right cheek from the explosion that took his leg and killed 6 of his squad mates. "Coming," he said, finally getting the bottle open and swallowing 2 pills dry. The house was small, prefabricated metal and plastic that the colony builders had dropped here 9 years ago, back when Redstone Vale had been full of hope and 8,000 people. Back when Anna had been alive and they'd thought this dusty red planet might actually become something. Owen sat on his bed, clutching the stuffed bear that Anna had made before she died. The boy had her blonde hair and her smile. He'd never met her. She'd bled out bringing him into the world while David had been off fighting in the Dust Belt campaign, losing his leg while his wife lost her life. "Hungry," Owen said simply. "I know, buddy. Let's see what we've got." The kitchen showed the truth of their situation. 3 cans of protein paste, a bag of dried fruit, some grain bars that were 2 months past their expiration date. The last supply ship had come 6 weeks ago, and it hadn't carried much. Most of the food had gone to people who were leaving. Lily appeared in the doorway, already dressed in the same clothes she'd worn yesterday. She was 9 but acted like she was 20, had to with David barely holding himself together most days. "The Chens left yesterday," she said quietly. "I saw their house is empty now." David felt something twist in his chest. The Chens had been their neighbors. "Good people, smart to leave. How many does that make?" he asked, though he already knew. "We're the last family on the east side. Maybe 40 people left in the whole town." Owen climbed into his chair and looked at the protein paste with the expression of someone facing torture. David couldn't blame him. The stuff tasted like metal and regret. Through the window, David could see the town center 3 blocks away. Empty buildings. Silent streets. 5 years ago, this place had been alive. Now it was a corpse, and they were the last stubborn fools who hadn't accepted that it was dead. The government had made it official 3 months ago. Redstone Vale was being abandoned. Too close to the border conflicts between the Krethic Dominion and the free colonies. Too dangerous. Too expensive to defend. Everyone should evacuate. Most people had jumped at the chance. Free transport to safer colonies. Fresh starts. New lives. David had thought about it. Stayed up nights thinking about it. But the idea of packing up 2 kids and traveling for months through space, competing for housing on some overcrowded core world, trying to find work when he could barely make it through a day without his medication and his ghosts, it had seemed impossible, so he'd stayed, and every day he wondered if that made him brave or just too broken to move. "Eat up," he told the kids. "I need to check the water purifier." The machine in the utility shed was making a noise it shouldn't make. David had learned basic maintenance over the years, but he wasn't an engineer. He stared at the blinking error code and felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. If this broke, they'd have no clean water. If the power grid failed, they'd have no heat. If anything major went wrong, there was nobody left to help. He was limping back to the house when he heard it. The deep rumble of engines. His hand went automatically to his hip, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there anymore. He hadn't carried a gun in 5 years. A transport shuttle was descending toward the spaceport. The last evacuation ship, the final chance to leave. David watched it land, watched people boarding. He recognized some of them. Mrs. Patterson, who ran the school. The Rodriguez family. Dr. Webb, the only physician left. Lily and Owen came out to stand beside him. "Are we going?" Lily asked. Her voice was small, hopeful, scared. David looked down at his daughter. She deserved better than this. They both did. But he couldn't make himself move toward that ship. Couldn't make himself face the world beyond this dying town. "No, sweetheart. We're staying." She nodded and took his hand. Owen grabbed his other hand. They stood together and watched the shuttle lift off, engines burning red against the pale sky. It climbed higher and higher until it was just a bright spot and then nothing. Silence settled over Redstone Vale like a blanket. They were alone now. Completely alone. David turned to go back inside and froze. Someone was walking up the road toward their house. Someone big. As the figure got closer, David's breath caught. 7 feet tall with scales that gleamed crimson and gold in the sunlight. Wings folded tight against a powerful back. Amber eyes that caught the light like fire. A dragon woman, walking toward his house carrying 2 supply crates. She stopped at the edge of their property and set the crates down. When she spoke, her voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "I am Scales. I stayed too." "You will need help," David stared at her. The Draken were warriors, proud and fierce. Their kind had left months ago when the conflicts started heating up. What was one doing here? Why? He managed to ask. She looked at him, at the kids, at the empty town behind them. Because someone should stay. Someone should help. Owen tugged on David's shirt. "Dad, is that a dragon?" "Yes, buddy." "Cool," Owen whispered. Scales's lips pulled back slightly. It might have been a smile. It was hard to tell with a face covered in scales. David should send her away, should maintain his pride and independence, should handle his own problems. But the water purifier was broken and the town was empty and he was so damn tired of being alone. "Okay," he said. "Okay." 3 days had passed since the dragon woman appeared at their door, and David still didn't know what to make of her. Scales had set up camp in the empty house next door, the one the Chens had abandoned. She appeared each morning carrying something they needed. Fresh water in containers, protein packs from somewhere. Yesterday she'd brought a box of actual vegetables that Owen had stared at like they were treasure. David wanted to refuse. Pride demanded it. But pride didn't keep his kids fed. "She's nice," Owen announced at breakfast, smearing something green across his face that might have been peas. "She's very tall," Lily added, which seemed like a safer observation. David grunted and tried to stand. His prosthetic had been giving him trouble, the joint mechanism grinding in a way that sent pain shooting up his thigh. He made it 2 steps before his leg locked up completely. He hit the floor hard. "Dad!" Lily was there instantly, trying to help him up. But she was 70 pounds. He was 200, most of it dead weight and bad choices. The door opened. Scales ducked through it, her wings barely fitting through the frame. She crossed the room in 2 strides and lifted David like he weighed nothing, setting him carefully on the couch. "Don't," he started to say. "Your leg," she interrupted, pointing at the prosthetic. "It is broken." "It's fine." She made a sound like rocks scraping together. "It is not fine. It will damage your body if you continue using it broken." David glared at her. She stared back with those unsettling amber eyes. Owen watched them both like he was at a tennis match. "I can fix it," Scales said. "I was a combat medic. I have fixed many prosthetics when I don't need—" "You do need," she said flatly. "Your pride is loud, but it does not feed children or fix machines." Lily made a sound that might have been a laugh. David shot her a look. She tried to look innocent and failed. "Fine," he muttered. "Fix it." Scales unstrapped the prosthetic with careful claws and carried it to the kitchen table. She pulled tools from a bag David hadn't noticed she was carrying. Draken tools, human tools, things he didn't recognize. Her claws moved with surprising delicacy, taking apart the joint mechanism. "The lubricant is old," she said, "and this connection is worn. You should have replaced it months ago." "Yeah, well, the last medical tech left in February." She glanced at him. "Why did you stay?" The question hung in the air. Owen was playing with his stuffed bear. Lily was watching David carefully like she wanted to know the answer too. "Where would we go?" David said finally. "Carry 2 kids across the galaxy to some overcrowded station where nobody knows us and nobody cares? Try to find work when I can barely walk? Watch my kids go hungry in a different place?" "You are going hungry here," Scales pointed out. "At least here it's our choice." She bent back over the prosthetic. Her claws worked in silence for a while. Then she spoke again, softer this time. "I lost my clutchmates in the war. 3 brothers, 2 sisters. I was the medic. I could not save them." David felt something in his chest loosen slightly. "I lost my squad. 6 people, my leg. Same day my wife died giving birth to Owen. I wasn't there for either." "You were fighting?" "Yeah. A lot of good it did." Scales held up the prosthetic. "Fixed. It will work better now." That night David woke to the sound of crying. He found Lily on the back step hugging her knees. She jumped when she saw him. "Sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to wake you." He sat down beside her, grunting as his leg protested. "What's wrong, sweetheart? Are we going to die here?" The question hit him like a fist. No, Lily, we're not going to die. But there's no food and the water thing is broken and everyone left and... Her voice cracked. Hey. He pulled her close. She was shaking. Hey, we're going to be okay. How do you know? He didn't, that was the truth. He had no idea if they'd be okay. But he was her father, and she needed to believe it. Before he could answer, Scales appeared from the shadows. David tensed, then realized she'd probably been on watch. Dragons didn't sleep much, or so he'd heard. She sat down on Lily's other side. For a moment, nobody spoke. I am afraid too, Scales said quietly. Lily looked up at her. You are? Yes, I'm afraid of going back to my world. Afraid of the war. Afraid of losing more people. She looked at the dark sky. I stayed here because I'm tired of being afraid alone. It is easier with others. But you're so strong, Lily said. Strong and afraid are not opposites. Warriors can be both. David felt something shift in his chest. This alien, this dragon woman, understood something he'd been trying to explain to himself for 5 years. Why are you really helping us? He asked. Scales looked at him. In the darkness, her eyes glowed faintly. Because you remind me of my brother. He had 2 younglings. He was wounded. He was proud. He needed help but would not ask. What happened to him? He died. The younglings died. Because he was too proud and I was too far away. She touched Lily's hair gently with one claw. I'm not too far away now. Lily wiped her eyes.
Can you stay?
Like stay? Not just next door? David started to object, then stopped. The house had an extra room. They had space. And maybe Scales was right. Maybe pride was just noise. The guest room is empty, he heard himself say. If you want it. Scales looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded once. I want it. Owen appeared in the doorway, dragging his bear. What's happening? Scales is going to live with us, Lily said. Owen's face lit up like someone had turned on a sun. Really, that's the best thing ever. He ran over and hugged Scales's leg. She went very still, like she didn't know what to do. Then carefully, gently, she put one clawed hand on his head. David watched them and thought maybe, just maybe, they'd find a way through this after all. Dust devils danced across the red plains as Lily carefully connected the wire to the solar panel. Her tongue poked out the side of her mouth in concentration. Beside her, Scales watched with patient amber eyes. Like this? Lily asked. Yes. Twist it 3 times, then secure with the clamp. 3 months had changed everything. The house felt less empty. Owen laughed more. David slept better, or at least differently. The nightmares still came, but somehow having Scales down the hall made them less overwhelming. They'd fallen into routines without planning to. Scales taught Lily how machines worked. David taught Owen his numbers and letters. They worked together to keep the colony's essential systems running, maintaining power and water for the handful of people who'd stayed or drifted in. Got it. Lily held up the repaired panel triumphantly. Good. Now we install it on the roof. Lily beamed. A year ago, she'd been a quiet kid who barely spoke. Now she took apart machinery like she'd been born to it. Scales had a way of explaining things that made sense, breaking complex ideas into simple pieces. David watched them from the porch, his prosthetic working smoothly for the first time in months. Scales had completely rebuilt it 2 weeks ago, adding improvements from Draken military designs. He could walk almost normally now. The pain was still there, but manageable. Owen was drawing in the dirt nearby, creating what he claimed was a spaceship, but looked more like a lumpy potato with wings. Dad, look. Owen pointed at the sky. A supply drone was descending, its engines humming. David felt his whole body tense. That sound, that high-pitched whine, it was too close to the sound of dropships, of battle, of the transport that had carried away the pieces of his squad in body bags. His heart started racing. The world got narrow and dark around the edges. He couldn't breathe right. Couldn't think. His hands were shaking and the sound kept getting louder and louder and... David! Scales was in front of him suddenly, blocking his view of the drone. Her hand rested on his shoulder, warm through his shirt. Breathe with me, she said. In through the nose. Count to 4. He tried to focus on her voice instead of the sound. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now out through the mouth. She breathed with him, slow and steady. The drone landed somewhere behind her. The sound faded. His heart gradually stopped trying to explode out of his chest. It's just a supply drone, she said quietly. You are here. You are safe. The war is over. I know, he managed. I know that. But my body doesn't. Your body remembers the danger. It is trying to protect you. She didn't move her hand from his shoulder. But I am here. The younglings are here. You are not in the battle anymore. David nodded, still shaking. Owen had stopped drawing and was watching with worried eyes. Lily had climbed down from the roof. I'm okay, David said, more for the kids than himself. Just a bad moment. It's okay to have bad moments, Scales said. Warriors carry their battles inside. This is normal. The supply drone had left a small crate. Inside was basic provisions and a message on a data pad. David read it twice, feeling cold. What is it? Scales asked. Colonies officially decommissioned. We're on our own. No more supply drones. No more support, nothing. Lily's face fell. What do we do? David looked at the message, at his kids, at Scales. They had maybe 2 months of food if they stretched it. The water purifiers would last longer, but eventually they'd need parts. The solar panels were old and failing one by one. We figure it out, he said. We always do. That night after the kids were asleep, David found Scales on the roof. She sat with her wings spread, catching the last warmth of the day. He climbed up carefully and sat beside her. You could leave, he said. Get on a transport. Go somewhere with food and people and a future. So could you. I've got the kids. It's different. She turned to look at him. In the darkness, her scales seemed to glow faintly. You think I stay because I have nowhere else to go? Don't you? I stay because I choose to. Because here, in this empty place with this broken family, I found something my homeworld never gave me. She looked back at the stars. Peace. Purpose. People who need me not because I can fight, but because I care. David felt something warm spread through his chest. We do need you. Not just for fixing things. You're part of this now. Part of us. I know. She was quiet for a moment. This is strange to say, but I have not felt this content in many years. Even with the danger and the shortage and the uncertainty, this feels right, yeah, David said softly. It does. They sat in comfortable silence watching the stars. Then Scales spoke again. Tomorrow is Owen's birthday, yes? 5 years? How did you know? Lily told me. She wants to celebrate, but there is no cake, no gifts. She is sad about this. David felt guilt twist in his gut. He'd almost forgotten. What kind of father forgets his kid's birthday? I can't give him much, he said. Maybe some extra food rations. Draw him a picture or something. Scales' eyes gleamed. I have an idea. But you must trust me. What kind of idea? A dragon kind of idea. The next evening, as the sun set, Scales led them all outside. Owen was confused but excited. Lily looked curious. David was nervous. Scales walked 50 feet away and turned to face them. Then she spread her wings wide, opened her mouth, and breathed fire. Not dangerous fire. Controlled fire. Beautiful fire. It spiraled and danced in the air, forming patterns and shapes. Dragons and spaceships and stars. The flames painted the darkening sky with gold and orange and red, and Owen's face was pure wonder. Best birthday ever, he shouted. Lily laughed. David found himself smiling, really smiling, for the first time in forever. Scales wove the fire into a final burst that spelled out, Happy Birthday, Owen, in letters 20 feet tall, then let it fade. Owen ran to her and hugged her legs. Thank you, Aunt Scales. She looked surprised at the title. Then pleased. You are welcome, small, fierce one. David met her eyes across the distance. She'd given his son a memory he'd carry forever. She'd given them all something precious, something that couldn't be measured in food or supplies or safety. She'd given them joy. The distress signal came through on the old emergency channel at dawn. David was making breakfast when the communication panel crackled to life for the first time in months. This is Krethik scout vessel Red Talon. We have crashed. Repeat, we have crashed. 3 survivors. Requesting assistance. David's hand froze on the protein pack he'd been opening. Krethik. The insectoid species that had been pushing into colonial space, starting the conflicts that had emptied places like Redstone Vale. Scales appeared in the doorway, already awake. Her scales were dark, almost black. David had learned that meant anger or fear. We should ignore it, she said. There are survivors. Krethik survivors. They are enemies. David looked at the communication panel. He'd been a soldier. He knew about enemies. But he also knew about leaving people to die in the desert. and he wasn't sure he could do that anymore. "I'm going to check it out," he said. "No." Scales moved to block the door. "I will go. You stay with the younglings. You hate the Krethic more than I do. You think that's a good idea? I will not let you walk into danger." They stared at each other. David could see the fear in her eyes. Not fear for herself. Fear for him, for the kids, for what might happen if he didn't come back. "We go together," he said finally. "Lily can watch Owen. We'll be back in a few hours." Scales didn't like it, but she nodded. They took the old ground transport, following the coordinates from the distress signal. 20 miles into the desert, they found the crash site. The Krethic scout ship had dug a trench 100 feet long. Smoke still rose from the wreckage. 3 figures moved near the ship. As David and Scales approached, they saw 2 Krethic soldiers in combat armor and 1 smaller figure in civilian clothes. The soldiers immediately raised weapons. David raised his hands. Beside him, Scales tensed, ready to fight. "We received your distress call," David said slowly. "We're here to help." One of the soldiers, larger than the other, chittered in the Krethic language. His translator unit crackled. "Human and Draken together? This is a trick, no trick. We're the only ones left on this colony. You crashed near our town." The smaller Krethic stepped forward. "I am Pavik, civilian engineer. Please, we need medical attention. Our pilot died in the crash." The larger soldier, whose translator identified him as Gorath, kept his weapon up. "We do not need human help. We will repair our ship." "Your ship is destroyed," Scales said flatly. Her voice was cold. "You will die here without assistance." "Better to die than accept help from a Draken," Gorath spat. Scales took a step forward. David put a hand on her arm. She was vibrating with tension, claws extended. "Everyone calm down," David said, using his old command voice. "I don't care what wars you're fighting out there. This is my colony, what's left of it. I'm ranking colonial representative, which means I make the rules. You want to survive? You come with us. You want to die in the desert? Stay here. Your choice." Gareth and Scales were staring at each other like they might start killing each other any second. The tension was thick enough to cut. Pavik spoke quickly. "We accept." "Thank you." "Gorath, stand down." "Pavik, stand down." "That is an order from senior surviving officer." Gorath slowly lowered his weapon. Scales slowly retracted her claws. David let out a breath he hadn't known he was holding. Getting the Krethic back to town was tense. Scales drove while David sat in the back with their guests. Pavik was friendly enough, asking questions about the colony. Gorath stayed silent, watching Scales like she might attack at any moment. The other soldier, whose name was Rith, had a badly broken leg. David did what he could with the medical supplies they'd brought, but the Krethic would need proper treatment. At the house, Lily and Owen stared at the insect-like aliens with wide eyes. Owen hid behind David's leg. Lily stood very straight, trying to be brave. "They need help," David told them simply. "So we're helping." He set the Krethic up in one of the abandoned houses. Scales refused to be in the same room with them. She disappeared to the roof, and David could see smoke rising as she vented fire into the sky. He found her there after dark. She was pacing, wings spread, radiating anger. "They killed my brothers," she said without looking at him. "Krethic soldiers. They destroyed my unit. I held my sister while she died and watched Krethic celebrate their victory." "I know. You do not know. You did not see it. You did not—" Her voice broke. David sat down carefully. "You're right. I don't know your pain. But I know mine. I know what it's like to carry dead friends inside you, to hate the people who caused it. Then you understand why I cannot help them. I understand why you don't want to. But you're going to anyway." She turned to glare at him. "Why would I do that?" "Because you're a medic. Because that's who you are underneath the anger and the pain. Because if you let hate make your decisions, the people who killed your family win." Scales closed her eyes. "It is too hard. Yeah, it is. But you're the strongest person I know. If anyone can do this, it's you." She was quiet for a long time. Then she spread her wings and dropped off the roof, gliding down to the house where the Krethic were staying. David watched her go and felt proud and worried in equal measure. The next 2 weeks were tense. Scales treated the Krethic's injuries with professional coldness. Gorath remained hostile. Rith was silent and in pain. Pavik tried to bridge the gap, helping repair the power generator and teaching Owen about star navigation. Then the aftershocks came. The ground shook violently. David grabbed Owen as the house swayed. Outside he heard a building collapse. When the shaking stopped, he ran to check on everyone. Lily was fine, clutching the door frame. The Krethik were okay, but Scales was missing. She went to secure the water purifiers, Lily said, voice shaking. David ran. The building that housed the purifiers had partially collapsed. He could see Scales inside, trapped under fallen metal beams, her wing bent at a wrong angle. "Help!" he shouted. Gorath appeared beside him. Without a word, the big Krethik soldier grabbed a beam and lifted. David pulled Scales free. She was unconscious, bleeding from a cut on her head. David worked on her using everything she'd taught him. Stop the bleeding. Check for broken bones. Keep her warm. His hands shook but stayed steady enough. Gorath watched. You care for her. She's family. Even though she is Draken? David looked at the Krethik soldier. Yeah, even though she's Draken. She stayed when everyone left. She helped us when she didn't have to. That makes her family. Gorath nodded slowly. This is warrior's honor. I understand this. Scales woke up hours later. She saw David first, then Gorath standing guard at the door and looked confused. You saved me, she said to David. We saved you. Gorath helped. She turned to look at the Krethik soldier. Something passed between them. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe understanding. Maybe the beginning of respect. Thank you, she said quietly. Gorath nodded once and left. David took her hand, careful of her claws. You scared me. I scared myself, she tried to smile. But I am alive. We are all alive. Yeah, we are. Welding sparks fell like stars as Pavik worked on the Krethik ship's engines. 2 weeks had passed since the aftershocks. Scales's wing was healing. The town had survived. And slowly and possibly the barriers between species were starting to crack. David watched Gorath teaching Owen how Krethik warriors did hand exercises. The big soldier was surprisingly gentle with the 5-year-old, showing him movements and praising his attempts. Owen giggled every time Gorath's mandibles clicked together. Your younglings are strong, Gorath said as David approached. They survive much hardship. They're tougher than I am sometimes. You are tough in different ways. I misjudged you, human David. I thought you weak because you are wounded. But staying here, raising younglings alone, keeping this place alive. Gorath made a gesture that David had learned meant respect. This is warrior's strength, thanks. I think. Pavik emerged from under the ship, wiping his hands. Good news. The engines will fly. Bad news. We need 2 more days of repairs. Rith, the other soldier, limped over. His leg was nearly healed. We could leave today if we must. No, Gorath said. We repair properly. We do not leave debts unpaid. That afternoon, Pavik pulled David aside. When we leave, we can take you. All of you. The younglings, Scales, you. There is a colony world safe and far from the conflicts. Food, schools, medical care. Everything you need. David felt something twist in his chest. A safe place? Yes, I have contacts there. I can guarantee you housing, work. The younglings would have futures. It was everything he should want. Everything Lily and Owen deserved. A real life instead of surviving day to day in an abandoned town. He found Scales in the garden Lily had started. Somehow, impossibly, green things were growing in the red soil. Scales was carefully watering them, her injured wing held close to her body. The Krethik offered us a way out, David said. Transport to a safe colony. New start, Scales's hand stilled on the watering can. That is good, is it? She looked at him. Your younglings would be safe. They would have opportunities. You would have medical care. This is what you should want. What about what you want? I want... She trailed off, looking at the small green shoots pushing through the dirt. I want to stay here, but that is selfish. The younglings need more than I can give them. David sat down on the garden's edge. His prosthetic ached. It always did when it was going to rain, which was rare on this dry world. I built Anna's grave over there. He pointed to a small stone marker near the eastern fence. Spent 3 days digging in this hard soil. Put her name on it. Promised her I'd take care of the kids. Scales sat beside him. You have kept that promise, have I? Or have I been keeping them in danger because I'm too scared to face the galaxy? You have given them love, safety, a home. These are not small things. They sat quietly. Then Lily's voice called from the house. Dad, Scales! Come quick. They found Lily and Owen in the living room. Owen was bouncing with excitement. Lily looked serious but happy. Tell them, she said to Owen. Owen grabbed David's hand. Pavik says we can go to a new place with lots of kids and food and everything. Can we go, Dad, please? David's heart clenched. You want to go? I want... Owen's face scrunched up. I want to go to school. And have friends. But I don't want to leave Aunt Scales. Can she come too? David looked at Scales. She looked back at him. Something passed between them. Something that had been building for months. What do you want, Lily? David asked. Lily sat down carefully. I want Owen to have friends. I want to go to a real school. I want... She looked at the floor. But this is home now. We built it. All of us together. And Scales is family. I don't want a new start if it means leaving her or leaving what we made here. Scales could come, David said. Could I? Scales asked quietly. Would I be welcome in this new colony? A Draken among humans and Krethic. David realized he didn't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. The galaxy was still full of species who hated each other for old reasons. Before he could answer, alarms blared. The emergency weather system was screaming warnings. David ran to check the monitors.
His blood went cold. Dust storm.
Category 5, hitting in 30 minutes. Category 5 storms had destroyed entire settlements. Their prefab buildings might not survive. Everyone moved. The Krethic abandoned their ship repairs. David and Gorath boarded up windows. Scales and Pavik secured the critical systems. Lily and Rith moved supplies to the most sheltered building. Owen stayed with David, helping pass tools. The storm hit like a hammer. Wind screamed. Dust turned the world dark. The house shook. Somewhere nearby, something crashed. David held Owen close while Lily pressed against his other side. Scales spread her wings over them, creating a shelter. Gorath and the other Krethic braced the walls. A section of roof tore away. Debris flew. Owen screamed. Scales shifted, putting her body between the children and the opening. Something hit her wing, the injured one, and she made a sound of pain but didn't move. I've got you, she said. I've got you all. The storm lasted 4 hours. When it finally passed, David carefully pulled himself free. The house was damaged but standing. The Krethic ship was half buried in sand. The town looked like a war zone, but they were alive. David turned to Scales. Her wing was bleeding again, badly. She'd reopened all her injuries, protecting them. You're hurt, I am fine. You're not fine. He grabbed the medical kit. His hands shook as he cleaned the wound. You could have moved. Could have protected yourself. I could not. They are younglings. My younglings now too. Something broke open in David's chest. He looked at her, really looked at her. This dragon woman who'd appeared at his door 7 months ago. Who'd fixed his leg and taught his daughter and made his son laugh. Who'd treated enemies and faced her demons and just taken a blow to protect his kids without hesitation. We're staying, he said. What? We're staying here. All of us, we built this. We survived this. We're not running anymore. But the younglings have everything they need right here. They have love. They have family. They have someone who will literally shield them with her body. That's more important than schools or safety or any of it. Scales stared at him. You would choose this? Choose me? Yeah, I would. We all would. Lily and Owen nodded. The Krethic emerged from where they'd been sheltering. Gorath looked at the devastation, then at their group. You are certain? Gorath asked. You would stay in this hard place? Yes. The big soldier made his respect gesture. Then you are truly warriors. All of you. Rain fell on Redstone Vale for the first time in 3 years. Real rain, not dust or ash. David stood on the porch watching water wash the red soil, making it darker. Richer. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled. 2 months had passed since the storm and the decision to stay. The Krethic had repaired their ship but stayed an extra week helping rebuild. Before they left, Gorath had marked the colony in the Krethic navigation. Systems as protected by honor debt, Pavik. Promised to spread word that Redstone Vale was open to refugees and wanderers. David hadn't believed anything would come of it. But 3 weeks ago, a family of humans arrived, running from debt collectors. Then a pair of Draken scientists looking for a quiet place to do research. Then more. 10 people became 20, became 40. Now there were nearly 60 residents, a mix of species that shouldn't work together but somehow did. Because they'd all seen David and Scales, seen a human veteran and a Draken medic building something despite everything, and thought maybe they could too. Dad, Lily called from inside. Scales needs help with the ceremony setup. David smiled. Right, the ceremony. He was getting married today. He found Scales in their bedroom struggling with a piece of Draken ceremonial cloth. She'd been trying to incorporate both human and Draken wedding traditions, and it was making her crazy. This is impossible, she muttered. Why do humans have so many buttons? Here, he helped her with the fasteners. His hands brushed her scales, warm and smooth. Even after 8 months of living together, touching her still made his heart beat faster. She looked at him, amber eyes soft. Are you certain about this? Humans and Draken do not usually. I've never been more certain of anything. He took her hands, careful of her claws. You stayed when everyone left. You fixed more than my leg. You gave my kids a mother. You gave me a reason to believe I could be more than just broken. You were never just broken. You were healing. I only helped. You did more than help. You loved us, all of us. Even when we were difficult, she made that rumbling sound that was her laugh. Owen is never difficult. Lily sometimes. You often. He kissed her, which still felt strange and wonderful with her scaled face, but they'd figured it out. Practice, she always said, was important. The ceremony was simple. They held it in the town square, now rebuilt and reinforced. Lily officiated, having gotten ordained through an online database which she found hilarious. Owen stood beside them, holding the rings they'd made from salvaged metal. 60 people attended. Humans, Draken, Krethik, and even a family of Velians who'd arrived last week. They all watched as David and Scales exchanged vows, each in their own language, then together in common. I promise to stay, David said, to build with you, to face whatever comes together. I promise to protect, Scales said, to heal, to love your younglings as my own, to be your family until the stars burn out. Owen presented the rings. They were simple bands, but they meant everything. David slipped one onto Scales's claw. She carefully placed one on his finger. Lily grinned. By the power invested in me by the galactic database of universal clergy, I now pronounce you married. You may kiss or do that thing where you touch foreheads. Whatever works, they touched foreheads, then kissed. The crowd cheered. Owen hugged both their legs. Lily wiped her eyes and tried to pretend she wasn't crying. The celebration lasted into the evening. Someone had made actual food, not just rations. There was music from 3 different cultures, somehow blending into something new. David danced with Scales, who was terrible at human dancing but tried anyway. He danced with Lily, who was getting tall and looked so much like Anna. He danced with Owen, who mostly jumped around and called it dancing. Later, as the party wound down, a ship appeared in the sky. David tensed, old instincts kicking in, but this was an official government vessel. An administrator stepped out, looking around at the rebuilt town with surprise. I'm looking for David Reeves. That's me. The administrator pulled out a datapad. Sir, we've received reports that Redstone Vale is operational again with a growing population. The colonial government wants to officially reinstate the colony. We're prepared to offer full support, supply lines, infrastructure funding, but we need someone to serve as administrator. David looked at Scales. She raised what passed for an eyebrow. I'll do it, David said. On one condition. What's that? Scales is co-administrator. Full authority, equal partnership. The administrator hesitated. Sir, there's no precedent for a non-human serving as... Then we make precedent. That's my condition. The administrator looked at Scales, at the mixed species crowd watching, at the town that shouldn't exist but did. All right. Done. Welcome back to the Colonial Registry, Redstone Vale. 6 months later, David stood on the same porch watching the same sky, but everything was different. The town had 150 residents now. They'd built a school where Lily taught engineering. They'd opened a medical center where Scales trained others. They'd started a council with representatives from each species. Owen ran past with a group of kids, human and alien, laughing about something only 5-year-olds found funny. He'd made friends. He was happy. That alone made everything worth it. Scales joined David, sliding her arm around his waist. She'd gotten comfortable with affection over the months, learning how humans showed love. What are you thinking? She asked. That I was broken. Everyone told me I was broken. I believed it. And now? Now I know broken isn't the same as finished. Broken things can be fixed, or they can be made into something new, something better. She rested her head on his shoulder, an awkward angle because she was taller, but they made it work. We built something good here. We built a home. Yes, we built home. Inside, Lily was working on lesson plans for tomorrow. Owen was drawing pictures of dragons and spaceships, his 2 favorite things combined. The house smelled like the dinner Scales had cooked, a fusion of human and Draken cuisine that was starting to become their tradition. David had lost a leg and a wife and most of his hope. He'd been left alone in a dying colony with 2 kids and no future. Then a dragon woman had appeared at his door and said someone should stay. Someone should help. She'd stayed. She'd helped. She'd become everything they needed and more. They'd built a home together in the dust and the emptiness. They'd built a family from broken pieces. They'd built a future where there shouldn't have been one. And it was beautiful.